Hello and good evening. Welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library and episode number 304 of Live Irish Myths. I'm your host, Anthony Murphy. For the next hour or so, we're going to be exploring, well, I was going to say the ancient past, perhaps not so ancient. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the old books of Ireland, continuing where we left off last week. We're talking about all that wonderful literature that was composed and compiled in the Middle Ages from about the 12th to the 16th centuries AD, but containing mythology, genealogies, law tracts, genealogies or toponymic information, and much more, sagas and etc., dating from much older times. So if you're joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, please do remember to join in the conversation by commenting. If you're on YouTube, please do subscribe to the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel. We've been doing this now for over 4.5 years. Can't believe it's been that long, but here we go. Tonight we are continuing to read from P.W. Joyce's A Social History of Ancient Ireland. If you have the book and you're reading along, we are beginning tonight on page 504, and the total count in terms of page numbers is 631. So we're a good distance towards the finish now. That's how much we have read, and that's how much we haven't read. Anyway, I'll say hello to a few people. Oh, distinct lack of YouTube comments tonight. Are we live on YouTube? All the commenters so far are on Facebook. Let me just check the live stream. Yeah, it's live on YouTube. There I am. Hi, Anthony. Yep. Okay, so Lynn Swan is the first to comment on YouTube. Elaine Dedlingenfelter says, hello, Anthony, and all the two. I hope all is well there after the storms. Better weather here today, 23 Celsius. Wow, yesterday it was 7. That's some difference. Yes, 16 Celsius. We don't normally see such huge differences. The storm passed. Eventually, got very, very windy in the early hours of Saturday morning. Fierce winds. The thing about Storm Dara, D-A-R-R-A-G-H, as it was named by the meteorological people, is that it was quite long-lived compared to other storms that we've had that were much more short in duration. And the strong winds continued all through Saturday until Saturday evening. Thankfully, no damage done here. We're all safe and sound. Thank you to those who reached out and asked and expressed concern. And it looks like Ireland escaped without any fatalities, although at one point there were 375,000 homes and businesses without power. Because, of course, what happens in many of these very strong windstorms is that old trees get blown down and they take the power lines with them. So hopefully all of you are restored. That is, those of you who are in Ireland, and I know some folks in the UK as well got a bit of a battering. Speaking of which, Wayne Bird says, hello, Anthony. Hello, everyone. Thankfully, the storms are all past. Just the damage it has left. The force of Mother Nature is so frightening. You're not wrong. And thankfully, we don't generally encounter those intense hurricanes that you see in the States that cause so much damage and cause people to flee a long distance away from home to escape the damage. Rex Fortenberry is saying, greetings from a humid Louisiana. Humid in Louisiana? Surely not. How about some fruitcake? There's a few of us here, I can tell you. A few fruitcakes hanging around this library. I've brought enough for everyone. Let's get mything. Brilliant stuff. Well, spread it round. Come on, don't wait. And is there a mug of tea with that fruitcake? Any chance? Anne Scott Doherty is saying, hello all from sunny but chilly southern Oregon. Not County Clare, and that very comfortable chair that we have been getting used to seeing you in. Well, I hope it's not too chilly over there, Anne. Stay warm. Desiree Riley is watching. Hello, listening while I ride around to get dog food and do a couple of errands. Well, how good of you to tune in while you're doing your errands, Desiree. And hopefully you get back home and ensconced in your comfortable chair with the wee doggy. Brendan Byrne is saying, evening, still trying to cut myself free from the cottage after the storm. Hope it wasn't that bad, Brendan. It was fairly gusty for a while. Barbara Murphy says, hello everyone, I hope all of you in the path of that storm are safe and dry. Cool here in Tucson, 69 Fahrenheit. Only expecting it to go up a bit more. And as usual, I will do the conversions. That's 20.5 Celsius. That's pretty warm. Yeah, that's pretty mild. Lynn Swan, as I said, was the first to comment on the YouTube live stream. I was growing paranoid for a moment, thinking that perhaps we weren't streaming there, but in fact we are. Evania Lee says, tippy top of the morning to you all. Marina from New Zealand, a very good morning to you, Evania. It must be crazy o'clock there. Silly o'clock. Has morning even broken there? Let me check my grey line map. Oh, indeed it has. Yes, indeed it has. Well, a very good morning to you. It is, of course, evening time here in Ireland, 6 minutes past 8 p.m. Happy Tuesday to you, Evania. Hope you're in good form. Rex Fortenberry says, woof, woof. Teresa Collins also on YouTube saying, hello, Anthony, and on Tua Golair from a chilly Killarney. 0 degrees and clear skies here. Stay warm and well wherever you are. Thank you, Teresa, and you also. There is a bit of cloud sweeping in off the Irish Sea this evening, which hopefully will keep the worst of the frost off. We were expecting a frosty night last night, but cloud cover meant that it was about 4 or 5 degrees this morning and no frost. So sometimes cloud can have a beneficial effect. Sean Black in Chicago says, yes, you're live. Thanks. Brilliant stuff, Sean. And a very good afternoon to you and all our Chicagoan friends, all our Illinoisan friends. Caroline Dash is saying, good evening. Just made it back after a weekend in Gogledd, Cymru. It's not Cymru, is it? How do you pronounce that? You might tell me. But North Wales and back home, I hope that you don't say that. Don't say I hope you dashed home. Never mind, Caroline. I'm sure you've heard it before. Brilliant. Yeah, I hope it wasn't too windy in North Wales. Hope you weren't there for the storm. John V is listening from Malta. Wow, fabulous place. Probably the southernmost of what would be considered the Western European passage tombs. The goddess temples in Malta. I have a couple of books about those, including Malta Prehistory and Temples. Yeah, that might be worth an exploration in one of our episodes. Beautifully illustrated book, that actually. Lots of nice photographs in it. Yeah, Malta. I'm sure the weather is very nice in Malta at this time of the year. A little bit cooler probably, but very pleasant, I'm sure, and very dry. Heather Marie Leaning is saying, evening to Tom King and Anthony. Hello, Heather Marie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Astronomuse in Dallas is saying, hi from Texas. Hello there, and a very good afternoon to you. We have lots of viewers in Texas, so we seem to have a pocket of viewers in Texas. Anyway, hello to you, and watching on YouTube. I hope you're subscribed to the channel to be notified of future video uploads and live streams. Helen Hirsch-Chader is saying, greetings from the Black Hills, friends. Glad you were past the storms. I'm sure it's cold up there, Helen. I think you were saying last week that it was fairly cold. Rosemary Elliott Mercier is saying, hello from Connecticut. A very good afternoon to you, Rosemary. I'm not sure if this is your first time watching, but you're very welcome. Hope you enjoy our discussion. Doesn't Dara mean oak? Well, Dura, D-O-I-R-E, with many sort of anglicizations. Does the name Dara mean oak? Could do. I'm not sure. Perhaps somebody will inform us. I'm sure I have a book of Celtic first names somewhere in my library. And If I went to look for it, of course, it would take me ages to find, because it's not a book that I would refer to very often. But I'm sure someone could do a quick Google search. A steaming cup of Lyons gold leaf tea, gold blend, or what's the other one? Original? Is it original blend? What's the other? Or is it No, it's not ordinary blend. Nobody would ever market a food as ordinary. Original. I think it's original blend and gold blend. Yes. We're a Lyons tea drinking family. We lost 20 mature trees around the cottage, including our beloved 70-year-old cherry tree. No more black cherries or white blossom. Oh dear. Wow. 20. Bloody hell. That's quite severe. I suppose the big difference between Dara and other storms was that Dara mostly brought northerly or northwesterly winds, compared to the usual southwesterlies. They came from a different direction this time, which probably didn't help. Sorry to hear that, Brendan. I presume you're going to plant some replacements at some point. Caroline Dash says, Yorkshire tea for me. What does Yorkshire tea taste like? I would like to know. Bit of Earl Grey, maybe? No. Richard Burgess is saying, hello, everyone from a wet New York, finally ending the drought. Well, I was going to say the wet sounds very Irish, but the drought, not so much, although we have had some droughts in recent years, as you know. Kathy May Deo is in the house. Hello, Mr. Anthony Antua. I haven't been here for a while. Been so busy lately working on some remodel on my house and visiting family. Hope to have time to join today. Brilliant stuff, Kathy. You're always very welcome, of course. Mariana Dunn says, Banachty, Dear Tua, and Anthony Murphy. Ooh, my full name. From sunny Alexandria in Virginia, not to be confused with Alexandria in Egypt. Mariana, you're very welcome. Hope you're in good form. Barbara Murphy says, I like fruitcake. Well, you're in the right place for that. Lynn Swan is saying that the storm was pretty fierce here on the coast. Van driver was killed just 20 miles away by a fallen tree. Oh, dear. Very sorry to hear that. May he rest in peace. Catherine Cleary says, it's wonderful to join you all from beautiful, sunny San Diego, California. Thank you all for your dear company. Brilliant stuff, Catherine. You're very welcome, and a very good afternoon, early midday afternoon to you. Samantha Healy is greeting us all from a chilly Soissons in France. Bonsoir, mon ami, mon copain. Samantha, ça va? Ivania, watched people trying to cross the road during the Dara storm 2 days ago. Was hilarious to watch. Tickled my funny bones. It did, I can imagine, yeah. Tuesday Thompson is wishing us all a happy Mythology Monday, and a very happy Mythology Monday right back at you, and hope your Tuesday's just as good. Anne McCallum is in the house. Hello, Antone and all the mighty two. Hope everyone's safe and well. Weather has been snowy, windy, and freezing. Today was cloudy and rainy, but in the plus single digits. Yay. Can't stay for the entire time, unfortunately. That's okay, Anne. I wonder, did the rain get rid of the snow, or did it freeze over when it fell? Fascinating stuff. Paula Mihaela O'Dowd is saying, hello everyone, we are spoiled with absolutely beautiful sunny cool weather in Pasadena, California today. By cool, what is the temperature? There's a few people watching from California. What is the temperature in California right now? Paula, you're very welcome to the live stream. Hope you enjoy it. Rosemary tells us, I try to drop in on Mondays from work. We won't tell anyone. It's our secret. We won't tell the boss. Or maybe you are the boss, and you only need to tell yourself. The winds came from the northwest, I think, and the Valley of Glendalough became a giant funnel for the winds. We were under a red storm warning. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about all your trees, Brendan. Hopefully, as I say, yeah, you can't grow them back. Like, you can't grow mature trees back. Not in your lifetime, you know. Sad. Sean Black in Chicago. Hey, is the surname Bynum Celtic, as far as you know? Bynum. I have never heard of it. Of course, that doesn't mean it's not Celtic. It's certainly not Irish. I'm not familiar with that name at all. Bynum. However, because I'm a librarian and I have books about all Irish surnames, I will check just in case. Let me refer to my copy of Sean de Wolf's All Ireland Surnames. I might have to take an antihistamine because I've been sneezing a few times this evening. Apologies about that. In any case, you're all viewing remotely, which means you can't catch it. Not off me, anyway. Bynum. Haven't heard of it. Interesting one. No, it's not listed. There's a Scottish, English, sorry. English locality name, Byram, B-Y-R-A-M, or B-Y-R-U-M, Byram, which is a bit like what you were saying there. Very rare, scattered English locality name meaning at the cow sheds, also as Byron, a buyer, of course. I'm just going to check the Irish spellings of surnames to see if there's anything resembling. I can't imagine. Byron, what would be the Oscailga? If you were anglicizing from Gaelga, I really don't think so. B-A-I-D-H, B-A-I-G-H, something like that. Of course, there's Bagnall. No. Not that I can find. Love my cup of teas, says Ivania. Don't we all? A cup of tea in the morning. It's very refreshing. It's like, I call it my wake-up juice. Some of you drink coffees and all sorts of specialty coffees. I'm not really a coffee person. A cup of tea, sometimes a chamomile or a peppermint, sometimes a lion's tea, I find just helps to wake me up in the morning. We didn't leave the house on Saturday. There was flooding down the road. We were safe-ish. Well, best to stay put and bide your time and wait it out than to venture out and risk yourself. Adina Sparks is saying, afternoon, Anthony, on the 2 of 55 and sunny, but a bit windy here in New Mexico. Wow. Well, maybe you're getting the remnant of our storm. 12, almost 13 Celsius. Yeah, that'd be typical Irish winter temperature. A mild day for us. 64 Fahrenheit, says Paula. So you're up at what, about 18? Yeah, 17.7778. So let's call that 18 Celsius. Yes, Anthony, got a little icy in places. Yeah, I can imagine. And yet I can't imagine because we don't really get very, very wintry weather. Bingham, yes, Bingham. Bingham is a name, but I think Bingham is an English name. Your question was, I think, was it a Celtic name? That's more difficult to tell because you'd have to research Bingham. Belfast and Northern Down. Yeah, it's an English name, earlier associated with Mayo, but I mean, is Bingham an English name? Is it an Anglo-Norman name or Anglo-Saxon name? Is it, does it have a French influence, or is it Celtic? I couldn't answer that. Hello there, Anthony and the mighty Tua. This is Tom King Ongawa, the smith of the forge of the smooth road. Good evening to you, Tom. I was like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz during the recent storm. All good at the forge. Hope all in good fettle. Looking forward to the solstice. I hope no trees down this time, Tom. You lost a couple of trees in the storms, I think, a while back. I just looked up Dara, and it does come from oak, says Lynn Swan. Yeah, that makes sense. Very, very good. And thank you for checking that. Our secret, not the boss, unless I'm at home. Yes. Brilliant stuff, Rosemary. We won't say a word. Just tell us where you work. Give us the phone number, and we'll do the rest. We'll make excuses for you, But I'm sure you're getting your work done and watching live Irish Myths. Yeah. While you have the book out, is Langford an Irish name? I don't think so. Again, I would say Langford is an English name. But I will check, Because I do have the book out, exactly as you say, Ivania. And I'm that kind of guy. You ask me a question that involves having to go and grab a book from my library, I'm nearly always going to say yes. Langford. Modnos. Modnos. See, all these abbreviations, you have to check what they mean. I presume mod means modern. Nos, I'm not sure what that means, but I will check. Tome egg check all. Can't find the abbreviations. Anyway, Langford. Where did I? Yes, East Ulster, Cork, Limerick, Kerry, Irish Longfort, Langfort, English toponymic in Ulster, 16th century, later in Munster. Yeah, so it's a planter name. It's a I presume it's what 16th century. Most of the plantation of Ulster took place in the 17th century, so maybe not, but it's almost certainly an English name and not an Irish name. So there you go. You're very welcome, Sean. Glad to help. Tom, mention the F word. Dun, dun, dun. Lots of people say hi to Tom. Lots of people sympathizing with Brendan on the loss of all those trees. I can get Barry's tea in Tucson, so I drink it quite often. I grew up on Linton, and then is that Bigelow? Barry's were not so. I mean, I'll drink anything, but I do prefer the Lions since I was raised on it. It's what my mother always drank and still does, and yeah. I suppose when you're used to something and you like it, you don't change, you know. I found this on Ancestry.com. Bynum surname, meaning Welsh, variant of Bainon, see Benion. This form of the surname is virtually non-existing in Britain, possibly also an American shortened and altered form of Dutch Van Bynum. Van Bynum. Habitational name from the village of Bynum, nowadays a neighbourhood in Doesburg in Gelderland. I'm not sure that we're any closer to answering the question as to whether it's a Celtic name or not. I can't quite derive that information from that. But thank you for your help on that one, Heather Marie. Very definitely. I believe Bynum changed coming to America. That happened. That happened all the time. Of course, big part of the problem was that a lot of Irish, I'm just talking about the Irish, other Europeans may have been the same. A lot of Irish peasants, as it were, most Irish people were poor in the 19th century. Most Irish poor people who ended up emigrating to America couldn't read or write. So when they were asked at Ellis Island and other places, what's your name? They spoke it, and the attendant or superintendent of the immigration there would write down an approximation. So sometimes that's how names got their spelling, and it might be a variant from how the name should really be spelled. Great example of that. The patrons, the Mythical Ireland patrons, if you're watching that scrolling ticker tape at the bottom of the screen, would have seen my interview with Michael Slavin. And Michael's name, Slavin, some people mistakenly call it Slavin, but it's Slavin. Derived from just such an episode when I think it was his father emigrated to the States, and he was asked his name and he said Slavin, which is an Irish name meaning little mountain. And the enumerator just took down the closest approximation, Slavin, and that's how Slavin became a name. Brendan says, I did feel like I'd lost old friends. So used to see the sunrise peek through them and gutted about the big cherry tree, as so many people had used the swing on it. Oh dear. I know. Conan, I've told the damn YouTube algorithm to tell me when you're on, probably 100 damn times, and it never does. This is, I mean, I know YouTube technically isn't social media, but this is the bane of social media and the various platforms. You can get all the followers. I keep saying it. I've 81,500 followers on the Mythical Ireland Facebook page. I've 25,000 or so followers on YouTube. And yet when I do something, hardly anybody sees it. Go figure. Apparently you have to pay to get to your own audience. Anyway, here just by random happenstance, says Conan. Well, what you could do is set your calendar or your alarm on your phone to go off every Monday at this time, or well, this time minus half an hour. We live stream at 8 p.m. Almost always on a Monday. Sometimes because of other things going on, we might postpone to Tuesday or Wednesday. But if you set your alarm, you'll never miss us. So maybe that's one way of doing it, Conan. Just a suggestion. I know it's not ideal. It would be better if YouTube and Facebook just did what they're supposed to do. Adele Perth is in the house. Hello, Anthony and Tua. Long time no see. Delighted to catch you live. Brilliant stuff, Adele. A very good morning to you. How is all down under? I hope you are well prepared for your summer solstice and your Christmas dinner on the beach. I just can't imagine what that's like. Anyway, it's great to see you. Hope you're in good form. Paula O'Dowd is saying, glad you made it, Conan. Yeah, exactly. I mean, regardless of how it happened. Paula says, I came here from Facebook as Facebook was funny. I'm always saying it. The stream seems to be much more reliable on YouTube than on Facebook. So, my great-grandmother was a Malone, and I know for sure that was her. Well, plenty of Malones in Ireland. And she wheeled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels. Alive, alive, oh, that's Molly Malone, of course. That makes sense regarding illiteracy. Yeah, because most Irish people, as I say, couldn't read or write. They were technically illiterate, but as some of the antiquarian scholars found out, Irish peasants who couldn't read or write were very intelligent and had a vast corpus of knowledge and lore. I think the Manx name Quilliam comes from MacWilliam. Said fast, you get the derived spelling. Interesting stuff, Heather Marie. Yes. Oh, I love that etymology and linguistics and what's it called for phonetics, you know. I was going to say phoneticsology, but I don't know what the word is. I'm making it up now as I go along. I will do that, says Conan. Well, it's just an idea, you know, and then you won't miss us. Brilliant stuff. Silent Pilgrim is in the house. Made it late, but you know what they say about wizards? A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. Please, no English. Please let it be Britannia. Found there was an altar tomb to Robert Langford, who died in 1614. In the churchyard of, this is a rabbit hole, folks, of St. Clara's, Cornwall, with a 10th century crosshead set upon the pillar. The first St. Clear church was built in around 800 AD and was made of timber, but in the 13th century was built of stone and renamed St. Clara's. Built in 1864 by the Caradon Miners and Mechanics Friendly Society, one of the earliest trade unionist bodies, the chapel was established to provide a burial site for those denied burial by the Church of England. I'm laughing. I know it's not funny, but I mean, yeah, go on. We don't need that Church of England. We can have our own burial site. F you. Sorry. Don't mention unbaptized babies not being allowed to be buried in Irish Catholic cemeteries. Don't even go there. Have you heard that St. Patrick is really the Apostle Paul? I doubt it, but so much about Patrick, and we've spoken a lot about him in our episode, Sean, if you're interested in going back. And there are some articles on the website on mythicalireland.com. If you search for St. Patrick, there's a long one about how so much of his story is mythology, but that sounds like a stretch to say that Patrick is the apostle. And I'm not about to take a Bible out and read Acts chapter 29. I'm sorry. No. The Bible is probably one book that we leave off these episodes because actually we probably have quoted from it from time to time, but we tend to stick to a little bit closer to the themes, as it were. But maybe I'll have a look at it afterwards because you have me intrigued. Lynn tells us that YouTube always notifies me when you're coming. If you uncross the bell on the subscribe page, it should notify you. Oh yeah, did you ring the bell icon? Who was that? Conan. I'm sure he did, but just in case, you know. Dawn Hilton says, I've just watched The Last Druid with Ben McBrady. I didn't realise he had died. Yeah, I think he's dead a long time. It's a curious one, that. I could do a whole episode on that. He was very interesting, and it was a very charming documentary. But I'll be honest, my own opinion, and this is only my own opinion, some of the things he said were really off the wall and very far out there. He suggested, among other things, that the ancient stone monuments were hiding places for meteor showers. And I wouldn't mind, but that's been repeated across the internet now, as if it's fact, I think that would be disputed. But anyway, certainly a very charming and enjoyable documentary. The Book of Rabbit Holes, Dad Jokes, and Other Things You Should Know. Well, I'm sure you meant shouldn't. You don't want to hear any of my dad jokes. Phonetics and phonology, you mean? Yes, exactly. Exactly what I meant, Tuesday Thompson. Thank you for filling in that gap that the brain was scrambling to fill in. You start reading the Bible on this show, you're going to have problems. Enough said. That's fair. I just believe biblical names have changed as well, and I'm accustomed to connecting the Bible with history. Yeah, well, wasn't Paul originally Saul, a persecutor of Christians? Yeah, let's not go there, says you. In fairness, yes, I did an episode on, what's his name? Young, C.G. Young's book, Answer to Job. Which had biblical themes in it. But, yeah. I subscribe to the Bertrand Russell and C.G. Young school when it comes to these things. Anyway, if a druid said it must be true, laughy face, I'm a druid, by the way. The other thing that I kind of always found interesting about sort of modern druids was how they proclaimed themselves to be druids, and some of them claim to have, of course, connections all the way through history to ancient druids, but how could anybody ever prove that, Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a little bit, as you can tell, no doubt, I'm a little bit skeptical. And as I get older, I find myself getting even more skeptical than before. I see druid types at various places and at various events, and have done for many, many years. Some of them are very, very interesting people. Some of them dress very interestingly. Some of them subscribe to very far out beliefs, if you don't mind me saying. Some of them are fine. Some of them are pretty ordinary, cool dudes. But, yeah, it's an interesting one. There is no evidence in Ireland, as far as I'm concerned, of any longevity of druidic practice, unless, of course, it was driven so far underground that tracing it would be impossible. So who knows? I got home and Amadeus was watching without me, says Desiree. Alexa is scheduled, turns on my TV for Mythflix every Monday, so I don't forget. Now, Conan, there's an idea. Get your TV to turn on. Get Alexa to do, if you have it, to do the job for you. Turn it on every Monday, so oh yes, Mythflix or Live Irish Myths is on. Amadeus was curled up on the couch listening without me. Brilliant stuff. Hello, Amadeus. Who's a good boy? Come here, boy. he's probably doing the whole head tilt thing right now. Like your own dog? Yes. Oh, Coda's at the door, looking through the glass, doing the whole head tilt thing because he heard me calling. And he's wondering, if he's not talking to me, who's he talking to? He's like, is there another dog out there? Yes, there is. Out there, through the camera, on the other side, in the United States. Christmas dinner on the beach? Nah. Get sand in the ham. After dinner for a walk and a cleansing ale. Sounds great, I don't watch TV, but I will set a reminder. Okay, I'm in the same boat, Conan. Ah. Yes. Kathy May is saying, hi, Coda. And he's very perplexed. He's like, who the hell is he talking to? He's not looking at me. It sounded like he was calling me, but he didn't use my name. Anyway, let's get on with the reading, shall we? Dawn Hilton, I've joined YouTube chat on my other phone. Are you watching us twice? Are you watching me in stereo? Oh God, is one not enough? In 1004, as in the year 1004, an entry was made in a blank space of this book. We were talking about the Book of Armagh, which among other things contains the life of St. Patrick, which almost transcends in interest the entries of Ferdaunach himself. In that year, the great king Brian Boru made a triumphal circuit round Ireland, and arriving at Armagh, he made an offering of 20 ounces of gold on the altar of St. Patrick. Speaking of which, somebody will know, maybe somebody won't know. Who was it that said one cannot serve God and mammon? Yeah, there you go. This phone is louder, lol. If it works, brilliant. He confirmed the ancient ecclesiastical supremacy of Armagh and caused his secretary, Maelsuchion, to enter the decree in the Book of Armagh. The entry, which is as plain now as the day it was written, is in Latin and stands in English. Quote, St. Patrick, when going to heaven, decreed that the entire fruit of his labour, as well of baptism and causes as of alms, ALMS, should be rendered to the apostolic city, which in the Scotic tongue is called Ardmacha, or Ardvacha, lenited. And Scotic, of course, we've had this discussion. Scotic here referring to the Irish, not the Scots, because before the Scots were Scots, the Irish were the Scots. Thus, I found it in the records of the Scots, i.e. the Irish, it says here in brackets. This I have written, namely, Maelsuchion, in the presence of Brian, supreme ruler of the Scots, in brackets, Irish, and what I have written he decreed for all the kings of Cashel. Cashel, of course, the ancient capital and ruling city of the southern part of the country. And you can still visit it today, the Rock of Cashel in County Tipperary. Right beside the town of... Can anyone guess? That's right, Cashel. I'm back, says Josie Weatherford, and have caught up on your last episodes. Glad to be back. Gia August Gia August Bangia Glitch Josie, it's great to see you, and brilliant that you've caught up on the episodes. Fantastic stuff. Barbara Murphy is telling us, if I haven't responded to any comments or said hi to individuals, my phone keeps losing all the comments. That happens to me, even on the computer. I can only see the last 4 or 5 comments on Facebook. Oh no, don't start that. Don't start that discussion here, because I will not tolerate it. This tribe of Dan, Tuatha Dé Danann rubbish. That's British Israelite propaganda. They want you to believe the Irish are the race that spurns the Antichrist. That gives birth to the Antichrist. The British Israelites want you to believe that the British people are descended from the royal line of David, but the Irish will not share in the future city of Jerusalem, the future heaven on earth. That's a very, very, very complex and yet not so complex area. But just be aware that all of that stuff was propagated originally by the British Israelites. They wanted to believe that they had a special blessing from God as a people apart from everyone else, that they belonged to the tribe of Judah, that they were the people who were going to be saved, but that the Irish, coming from the tribe of Dan, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path. who jumpeth up and biteth the horse heels, making its rider fall backwards. I mean, it was totally racist stuff. They wanted to believe that they were saved because they were descended from a particular tribe, and that the Irish were damned because they derived from another tribe. So just Ireland's Aryans, I haven't seen you on this live stream before, and you're very welcome to participate, but there is a serious health warning comes with any of that British Israelite bullshit, which is what it is, and that propaganda. I do not tolerate it simply because it's racism in its worst form. And the unfortunate thing, as I've said on many episodes, is that lots and lots of Irish people are getting sucked in by it. They don't realize that stuff originates in the 19th century with a whole load of half-cracked English noblemen who truly believed that the English nation was descended from the tribe of Judah through the royal line of David. But at the same time, of course, the Irish, who they looked down at anyway, were descended from this whole other tribe associated with the Antichrist. Don't, please. It's nonsense. And don't tell me to do your research. I've done my bloody research, and that doesn't involve watching YouTube videos. That involves 25 years of research in that subject. And I can tell you, it's very close to my heart because I once knew a British Israelite, and he was dark, to say the least. And yeah, anyway, I think I've said enough. Sorry. Did that sound like a bit of a rant? Because it was. I think I got that off my chest. Someone agrees with me. Anyway, we'll move on. Of all the old books of Ireland, this was, for many ages, the most celebrated and the most deeply venerated. This is the Book of Armagh. Of course, there is a distinct sort of Christian veneer to this. It was venerated because of its religious content. And of course, when the church really took hold, as it did, anything that discussed or described the Tuatha Dé Danann, the pre-Christian deities, of course, was considered problematic because of the first commandment. The popular belief that it was written by St. Patrick himself, from which it got the name Canon Patrick, or Patrick's Testament. It was entrusted to the safekeeping of the members of a particular family, the MacMoiries, who for generations enjoyed a liberal land endowment in consideration of the importance of their trust. Wow, I should apply for that kind of job. Get extra land for minding books. I think I'd be entitled to a few acres. From this circumstance, they got the name of MacMoir, M-A-C-M-O-Y-R-E. Is that pronounced MacMoir or MacMoiry? I'm not sure. I.e., the descendants of the Mair, M-A-E-R, or keeper. Yes. I would tell a dad joke if one came to mind right now, Dawn. I think it was Dawn. No, Josie. This venerable book was about being published. And the task of editing it was entrusted to the man who knew most about it, the Right Reverend Dr. William Reeves, late Bishop of Down and Connor. But death intervened before he had time to finish the crowning literary work of his life. Damn you, death. Just when he's reached his peak, could you not spare him another couple of years? The book is in competent hands, however, and it will be published. Meantime, every expression in Irish that occurs in the book has been edited and published with great learning and skill by the Reverend Dr. Edmund Hogan, S.J., in his Documenta de San Patricio. Sounds very learned. How do I... Hogan, S.J. Wasn't he onomasticon? Wasn't he? Was the compiler of the onomasticon Gaelicum, wasn't he? Yes, indeed he was. Edmund Hogan, S.J. He was a Jesuit. Yes, it almost sounded like we were going to go down a sort of an army of darkness rabbit hole there with the onomasticon. What was the book called? The Necromonicon. Anybody remember Army of Darkness? Bruce Campbell. I just found that movie. I don't know which one it was. Was that the third movie? That one in particular was brilliant. It was hilariously funny, You'd be entitled to half of Ireland with those books, says Dawn. Wow. But then there are shades of plantation era gifts in that. So yes, let's veer back on track again. Other Latin Irish books of this class still preserved are the Book of Durrow, written by a scribe named Columba, not the great Saint Columba, but a subsequent namesake, the Book of MacDurnan, the Stowe Missal, Stowe, now in the Royal Irish Academy, and the Garland of Howth, now in Trinity College, Dublin. There's a book called the Garland of Howth, all belonging to the 7th, 8th, and 9th centuries, and all elaborately ornamented, some little inferior indeed to the Book of Kells. Yes, well, Book of the Kells being the creme de la creme, the what's it called? What's that French term? The best example. I hate that when you're under pressure, when you need it to be on the tip of your. Well, it's on the tip of my tongue. When you need it right there. The pièce de résistance. Yes, indeed. I shall safely put the Necromonicon back in its place, or the onomasticon, as we should call it. Love Bruce Campbell and his boomstick, says Richard. Yeah, he goes back in time to a medieval castle, and he still has his shotgun. Yeah. Brilliant. I must watch that movie again. It's a long time since I've seen it. Oh, me and my sons have watched Army of Darkness so many times. It's so hilarious, says Kathy May. Isn't it just brilliant? Johnny Wilson is joining us late. Now, I have an announcement to make, Johnny, in relation to the Red Book. In the past couple of days, yesterday I'm pretty sure, I reached the very end of the Red Book and ran out of space. I was unable to find an immediate replacement. The identical notebook, is not the Red Book. From now on, all latecomers to Live Irish Myths shall have their names entered in the... I'll leave you guessing. What colour is the new Red Book? And it's not red. Hello, Johnny. 21 Celsius. Wow. Do you know what? That's like an Irish summer day. And I know that's cool for you, What colour is the new Red Book? We have a vast body of original ecclesiastical and religious writings. Unsurprisingly, not. Among them are the lives of a great many of the most distinguished Irish saints, mostly in Irish, some few in Latin, some on vellum, some on paper, of various ages, from the 7th century down to the 18th. Wow. Dawn and Mariana suggesting black. No, it's not black. Barbara Murphy suggesting it's a green book. No, it's not green. I'm going to keep you guessing. Of these manuscripts, the great majority are in Dublin, but there are many also in the British Museum, quelle surprise, as well as in Brussels and elsewhere on the continent. I know our British viewers will appreciate my humour. Rossio is late also. You're going to get your name taken in the book. Dawn Hilton is suggesting blue. Well, let me just say, Dawn, you're at the right end of the spectrum, the colour spectrum, that is. Brown or purple, says Lily. Oh, we are getting close. Ivania is suggesting purple. We are getting close. We're reading about ancient Irish books, but particularly those pertaining to Christianity and religious works from the 7th to the 18th century. We're on page 505 of P.W. Joyce's A Social History of Ancient Ireland. Johnny Wilson suggests that it's orange. No, it's not orange. Hang on, I need to Google something quietly while I'm... Yeah, okay. Don Hilton, take a bow. It's lilac. In future, if you're late for class, you will get your name taken in the lilac book. It just doesn't sound the same as the red book, does it? Although Young, of course, wrote the red book, which was a compilation of more than one book. Liber Novum, wasn't it? The new book or something like that. Lilac is the correct answer. And no, to whoever suggested black, I think it would be a bit dodgy if I was to suggest I was taking names in my little black book, if you know what that reference means at all. Especially if I'm taking ladies' names in my little black book. I think that'd be a bit dodgy. Might be frowned upon, you know. So, my little lilac book. So, Rossio, you're in the book. Who else? I think that's lavender, says Elaine. Well, it actually distinctly says on it that it's lilac, but I am severely red-green deficient colorblind, so I don't know. And you cannot trust the camera to render all of the colors naturally. There's a slightly warm tinge to the camera settings on this camera. But anyway, I'm a painter. I know my hues, says Don. Hey, I'm not arguing with you. You tell me what color it is and we'll go with that. But it says on the book, it actually says lilac. Hey, look, let's do this. Let's do this whole thing here now. Watch. Oh no, definitely don't zoom in any further. Oh God, Anthony, save them, please. Spare them from the ignominy of having to look at that. There you go. In my little lilac book. I think now it's a different royal purple. Lilac it is, says Mariana. That's lilac, definitely, says Don. In that case, Anthony, it looks red, says Brendan. Little Lilac sounds like a BBC mini-series. Hey, people have suggested things as an offshoot of many things that have happened on Live Irish Myths. Kathy May is laughing. Rossio, no, please, no, not the lilac. Yes. Does not inspire fear, says Brendan. Yeah, it doesn't really, does it? Yeah. Leave it with me. I'll keep an eye out for something rather special. Because you guys are all very special. You're all touched in some way. As to whether I meant that as a compliment or not, you'll have to figure out for yourselves. The lives of the three patrons of Ireland, Patrick, Bridget, and Columkill, are, as might be expected, more numerous than those of the others. Of these, the best known is the tripartite life of Saint Patrick, should I say, so called because it is divided into three parts. And didn't we read in a previous episode over the past year or so that it was written to be delivered as a mass in three sections. There is a manuscript copy of this in the British Museum. And I'll give it back. And another in the library of the University of Oxford. That's the Bodleian Library, I believe. It is in Irish, mixed here and there with words and sentences in Latin. Talking about confusing. Colgan, of course, the churchmen all spoke and could write Latin, but also in Irish. They were bilingual, as it were. Colgan and others after him have given their... Isn't it fascinating, right? Here's a rabbit hole for you. Isn't it fascinating that when Irish first began to be written down, regardless of when it arose as a language, which some linguists now believe was in the Bronze Age, 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, regardless of when it arose in the first place, when it began to be written down, the English language did not exist. And would not exist for many centuries to come. Tell you. Colgan and others after him have given their opinion that it was originally written in the 6th century by Saint Evan of Monaster Evan. But it certainly is not so early. Of course, Monaster Evan is an anglicised version of Monaster Evan, which literally means the monastery of Evan. But it is certainly not so early. Dr. Petrie, in his book about Tara, and Dr. Todd, in his book about St. Patrick, both assign it to the 9th or 10th century, while Dr. Stokes, that's Whitley Stokes, who we have mentioned on many, many, many occasions, gives the 10th century as the superior limit, as in the upper limit. The compiler, whoever he was, has older books lying before him. This has been lately printed in 2 volumes with translations and elaborate and valuable introduction and notes by Dr. Stokes. I think he was, I could be mistaken, but I think we've ascertained through our 304 episodes that Whitley Stokes was probably the single most prolific translator of Irish material. That's because most of England was Wales. Besides the Irish Lives of St. Columkill, there is one in Latin written by Adamnan, who died in the year 703. He was a native of Donegal, and 9th abbot of Iona, and his memoir has been pronounced by the learned Scotch writer Pinkerton, who is not given to praise Irish things, to be, quote, one of the most curious monuments of the literature of that age. It is certainly the most complete piece of such biography that all of Europe can boast of, not only at so early a period, but even through the whole Middle Ages, unquote. Wow. High praise indeed for someone who didn't like praising anything Irish. It has been published for the Archaeological and Celtic Society by the Reverend Dr. William Reeves, who, in his introduction and notes, supplies historical, local, and biographical information drawn from every conceivable source. I'd well believe it. Some of these scholars were exhaustive in their work. They were true geniuses of their time. Stupid Facebook is now not automatically scrolling comments up. It says 7 comments, but only shows 3. Yeah, annoying. Very annoying. Is Auntie Joe in the house? I didn't see her. Hang on a second. Did I miss that? Joe. Oh, you're there. Shh. I just now came in. A new Tardy book. Yikes. My name at the top of the first page. I'm so scared. Laughy face. Well, wait until I take out. Dun, dun, dun. The Lilac Book. To be greatly feared by all and sundry. Rossio, late. Who else was late? Auntie Joe, late. And there was a third. Somebody else was late. Oh, yes. Yes, it's you, Mr. Wilson. Wilson, stand at the back of the class and write 100 lines. I shall not be late for lectures. With Professor Murphy. Yeah, the Lilac Book instills fear into everyone. Not. In the year 1645, the Reverend John Colgan, a Franciscan friar, a native of Donegal, published at Louvain. I always say Louvain, but it's French, so it's Louvain, isn't it? where he then resided in the Irish monastery of that city, a large volume entitled Acta Sanctorum Hiberniae. What do you think that could mean? The Acts of the Saints of Ireland? The Lives of the Saints of Ireland. Ah, close, Anthony, close. All in Latin, translated by himself from ancient Irish manuscripts. Do they have to go sit in the corner with a dunce hat on their head? Yeah. No, but they have to clean the classroom after everybody has left, you know. So make sure to make a mess with that. What kind of pie was that Rex Fortenberry was offering at the start? Make sure you munch on it very untidily so that the crumbs fall everywhere, and Joe and Johnny and Rossio will have to clean up after you. They are arranged according to the festival days of the saints. Okay, right. So it's a book called The Lives of the Saints of Ireland, but it probably consists of mini biographies or mini books within a book. And those separate books inside this book are arranged according to the festival days of the saints. And the volume contains the lives of those whose days fall in the 3 first months of the year. His intention was no doubt to finish the work to the 31st of December, but he stopped at the 31st of March and never published any more of that work. Oh. In 1647, he published another volume, also in Latin, which he calls Acta Triadis Thaumaturgae, the Lives of the Wonder-Working Triad. We're into Marvel comics now, are we? It is devoted to Saints Patrick, Bridget, and Columkill. No, Anthony, we're not into Marvel comics. We're talking about Irish saints, the 3 principal ones, the patron saints, and consists almost entirely of translations of all the old lives of these 3 saints that he could find. There are 7 lives of St. Patrick, including the tripartite. Both volumes are elaborately annotated. 7 lives, both volumes. I'm confused now. Oh yeah, okay. So he published a book called The Lives of the Saints of Ireland and a separate book called The Lives of the Wonder-Working Triad. Both volumes are elaborately annotated by the learned editor, and text and notes, all in Latin, contain a vast amount of biographical, historical, topographical, and legendary information. Wow, cool. Another class of Irish ecclesiastical writings are the calendars, or Martyrologies, or Festilogies. Festilogies? That's a word I'm not familiar with. Festilogies. Festilogies. Irish failure, or a festival list. Cleaning up as punishment, it is slavery, says Joe. You're damn right it is. Yes, I'm bringing us all the way back to medieval times. Only royalty can use the colour purple. Off with his head. Speaking of which, a friend of mine asked, do you know where I can get a toupee? I said, no, not off the top of my head. The Failure is a catalogue of saints arranged according to their festival days, with usually a few facts about each, briefly stated, but with no detailed memoirs. There are several of these Martyrologies. I mention one in the next chapter, the calendar of Michael O'Clery. Michael O'Clery being one of the 4 masters, wasn't he? And the only other one I will notice is the Failure of Angus the Culdee, which is in verse. The Cayley J, of course, that you could call them rebel group, the group of rebels who split from the main church in Ireland because they thought the church was too entwined with politics, too entwined with the kings. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing, you know. The circumstance that gave rise to this metrical catalogue is related in an ancient legend. One time, while Angus, who died about the year 820, was at the church of Coolbanagher in the present Queen's County, he saw a host of angels alighting one after another on a grave and immediately reascending. He asked the priest of the church who it was that was buried there and what he had done to merit such honour. The priest, I haven't had a drop, I'm telling you. The priest replied that it was a poor old man who lived in the place, and who did not seem to be distinguished for any unusual piety, but that he had made it a practice to invoke a number of the saints of the world, as many as he could remember, going to bed at night and getting up in the morning. "Ah, my God," exclaimed Angus, "when this poor old man is so honoured for what he did, how great should be the reward of him who should make a poetical composition in praise of all the saints of the year," unquote. Whereupon he began his poem. It sounds like the reason he was compiling the poem was that he would have loads of angels descending and ascending to and from his grave, and that he would have sort of a special access to heaven. He continued to work at it during his subsequent residence at Clonina in Queen's County, and finished it while living in St. Maelruan's Monastery at Tala, near Dublin. And of course, these days, Tala is in Dublin, because Dublin City has spread out and consumed or assumed Tala into its suburbs. Now, let me just check that I haven't missed any. Miracles are Thaumaturgy. St. Gregory the Great is called this pope. You learn something new every day, John Inman. Sean Black, Chicago, is saying, the stream is very relaxing and encouraging to the spirit. Thanks for sharing, Sir Anthony. Brilliant stuff. Sean, glad to see you using my correct title. I joke, of course. I'm glad you're enjoying it. They love their feast days, to be sure. The thing about old Catholic Ireland is that there was a feast day pretty much every day of the year. It was, I don't know, it was a way to keep people sort of, coming to the church. Yeah, nearly every day of the year. Just checking that I haven't missed anything. I was just about to ask about the failure of Angus. I'm currently reading a modern Irish novel about the Cayley Day called Tarngaracht. Tarngara, the land of promise, the promised ones, or something like that, is it? Brilliant stuff, Josie. Let me know how that goes. But it's fiction, but sometimes fiction's the best way to write about things. Lilac is the colour of the F word, says Rossio. Is it? Really? So I shall enter you in the F book. That could be taken a number of ways. I'm definitely not going to be saying that. I'm certainly not blaming that on you, Rossio. Sounds like Louisiana. Feast day festival every day. Lol, I missed that. And of course, for the Irish, in many cases, another excuse for the drop of the creator, Although, in fairness, many of them abstained, of course, because for religious reasons. The body of the poem consists of 365 quatrain stanzas, one for each day of the year, each stanza commemorating one or more saints, chiefly but not exclusively Irish, whose festivals occur on the particular day. But there are also poetical prologues and epilogues and prose prefaces, besides a great collection of glosses and explanatory commentaries, all in Irish, interspersed with the text, and all written by various persons who lived after the time of Angus. Fascinating stuff. So there's a stanza for every day of the year. In a lot of cases, one saint is commemorated, but in some cases, more than one saint. So there were more than 365 saints to go around. There are several manuscript copies, one being in the Lower Breck, or the Speckled Book. The whole failure, with prefaces, glosses, and commentaries, has been translated and edited with learned notes by himself again, Dr. Whitley Stokes, for the Royal Irish Academy. To Angus is also commonly attributed, but it seems erroneously, salt and ram, i.e. the salt of the quatrains. I'm for the next paragraph or so, I'm going to try to sound like a very, very intellectual, highly intellectual Irish professorial scholar. To Angus is also commonly attributed, but it seems erroneously, Psalter na Rán, i.e. the Psalter of the Quatrains, of which the only complete copy lies in the Bodleian Library at Oxford. It consists of 162 short Irish poems on sacred subjects. The whole collection has been published by Dr. Whitley Stokes, with glossary of words, but without translation. How ancient and difficult is the language of these pieces may be judged from the fact that Dr. Stokes was obliged to leave a large number of words in the glossary unexplained. Interesting that, because he also translated Caught My Chura, didn't he? And that's something that Morgan Daimler, who published a translation of Caught My Chura, said that there were sections of it that were just left untranslated by Stokes because the language seemed very archaic and untranslatable, you know. Barbara Murphy is reminding us, didn't some first-timer get upset at all the swearing in an episode where the little you-know-who's had a prominent presence? They thought when we said the F word, we were talking about fuck, you know? But we weren't. We were talking about the, right? Yeah, hilarious. Yeah, and they were never seen again, I presume. Crab day, alligator, shrimp and petroleum, duck, jambalaya, etc. Okay, I'm hungry now, says Rex. Have you eaten all the cake? The fruit cake? Michael Pike is in the house. Brief break from work. Somebody should tell your employer, special dispensation is guaranteed for Live Irish Myths. You know? Do you want me to write a note to him? I have some very nice note paper here. I could type it on my typewriter, make it look very official. In England, there is currently a shortage of Guinness. This is true. That is a true story. There's a shortage of Guinness in England. So if you're in England and you want Guinness, come to Ireland. Easy peasy. Sorted. The F book. Yeah. Prophecy, says Josie. Tarngerucht. Okay. Tarngerucht is prophecy. Yeah, certainly, says Michael Pike. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to type that letter. Please allow Michael Pike to take an hour and a half off on a Monday for Live Irish Myths. He's one of the Myth Flixers and a Mythical Ireland patron to boot. Surely he should get such dispensation. There is a class of ecclesiastical writings devoted exclusively to the pedigree or genealogies of the Irish saints. Now I'm speaking like a commoner Dubliner. All of which, besides the direct knowledge they convey, contain a large amount of Irish topographical and antiquarian information. Of these, there are several, the oldest being that ascribed to Angus the Culdee. Copies of this tract are found in the Books of Leinster and Ballymount, and in MacFirbish's Book of Genealogies. Sorry, Book. Book is definitely how a Dubliner would say it. It depends on what area of Dublin you are from, of course. Not one of these genealogies has been published. The Book of Hymns, a twin book to the Book of Hers. Never mind, it's Hymns. The Book of Hymns is one of the manuscripts in Trinity College, Dublin, copied at some time not later than the 9th or 10th century. It consists of a number of hymns, and hers, some in Latin, some in Irish, composed by the primitive saints of Ireland, Saint Shachnal, Saint Ultan, Saint Coman Fada, Saint Columba, and others, with prefaces, glosses, and commentaries, mostly in Irish, by ancient copyists and editors. I love this. You see, as a journalist, you know, somebody who's always loved writing and books and phonetics, and Ireland, of course, and someone who's for a long time loved myths and legends and Irish history and culture and a bit of the Gaeilge. I mean, I see that I come from a long tradition, Actually, my boss knows that I prefer Mondays off for Netflix and tries to accommodate. The best is with my boss, though. I was flying to Ireland for the meetup of the Colorado 6 and flying back. They didn't realize I was just driving 4 hours to Denver for the meetup. Come here. Your secret's safe with us. We will not tell anybody. Of course, if they happen to stumble upon this episode afterwards and watch it on YouTube, then your secret will be out. But come here. Shh. Not a word, any of you. Come here. Do you hear me all? You over there in the corner. Yes. You. Barbara. Yes. Rex. Yes. Brendan. Shh. Not a word. It has been published by the Irish Archaeological and Celtic Society, edited with annotations and with translations of the Irish hymns and Irish commentaries by the Reverend Dr. James Henthorne Todd. Another edition, the Irish Lower Hymnorum, or Book of Hymns, with some additional hymns, has been lately edited by the Reverend Dr. Bernard F.T.C.D. and Robert Atkinson, LLD. I did not capitalize that word. There are manuscripts on various other ecclesiastical subjects scattered through libraries. Canons and rules of monastic life, prayers and litanies, hymns, sermons, explanations of the Christian mysteries, commentaries on the scriptures, etc., many very ancient. Of the numerous modern writings of this class, I will specify only two, written in classical modern Irish about the year 1630 by the Reverend Geoffrey Keating, the compiler of the famous History of Ireland, of which I only have one volume. I must get the second volume. Anyway, do not get distracted, Anthony. The Key Shield of the Mass. So these are two writings, ecclesiastical subjects by Geoffrey Keating. One is called Key Shield of the Mass, and the other is called The Three Shafts. Sorry for the interruption. The Three Shafts of Death. Dun, dun, dun. There's the mine shaft. There's the coal shaft. And then there's the getting the sack. Or getting demoted at work. Getting the shaft. Never mind. There's another meaning for shaft in Ireland. If you don't know it, I am not going to tell you what it is. Use your imagination. This last, as in The Three Shafts of Death, dun, 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 has been published for the Royal Irish Academy without translation, but with an excellent glossary by Dr. Robert Atkinson. There was an Irish treatise on the Psalter, of which the fragment that remains has been translated by Professor Kuno Meyer in Hibernia Minora, and which, according to him, was H-I-M, not H-Y-M-N, was originally written about AD 750, showing a most careful study of the subject and an intimate acquaintance with the ancient ecclesiastical writers of the world. Another ecclesiastical relic belonging to Ireland should be mentioned, the antiphonary, or hymn book, of St. Covgall's Monastery at Bangor. The antiphon, isn't that the antiphon in the Mass, in the Catholic Mass, is the entrance prayer, isn't it? If I understand right. Sure, look, we have time for a little rabbit holing. Antiphon. In Western tradition, Christian liturgy, a short sentence sung or recited before or after a psalm or canticle. Okay, not necessarily. But there is something in the Mass called the entrance antiphon, which is the very first thing said at the beginning of the Mass, if I'm not mistaken. Entrance antiphon. is to open the celebration. The purpose of the entrance antiphon is to open the celebration, foster the unity of those who have been gathered, introduce their thoughts to the mystery of the liturgical time or festivity, and accompany the procession of the priests and ministers. There you go. I learned something when I was in school. That the teachers learned me good English, so they did. Yes, so St. Covgold's Monastery at Bangor had an antiphonary or hymn book. This was brought away at a very early time by some good monk to save it from certain destruction by the Danes. For Danes, insert Vikings. And in fact, haven't we been saying repeatedly that, in fact, the Vikings who invaded Ireland in the 8th and 9th centuries were mostly Norse, not Danish. And after lying hidden and neglected for 1,000 years among heaps of old manuscripts, was found at last in Bobbio by Muratori, who published it in the early in the 18th century. Bobbio is in Italy, isn't it? What order does it belong to? Is it Franciscan again? Bobbio Abbey is a monastery founded by Irish St. Columbanus in 614, which later grew up around the town of Bobbio in the province of Piacenza, Italy, dedicated to St. Columbanus. So it's not Franciscan then. Fascinating stuff. Wow, founded in 614. So before the Synod of Whitby, when the Irish church leaders were kind of kicked into shape by the Roman Church, the Irish had already gone and established a monastery in Italy. Wow, fascinating stuff. Rossio is saying, but I'm not from Ireland. I cannot imagine on another word for shaft. Well, perhaps if there's a website of Irish slang words, you could look it up there. That Dublin accent is on point, says Josie. How are you, Josie? Apple 6 for £1. Henry Street, the Henry Street traders. When I was a kid, I'll never forget that. They were there all the time. The way Angus reminds me of Hangus or Hangus the monkey. Who's Hangus the monkey, Lily? I don't know who that is. Writers of sacred history sometimes illustrated their narratives with rude pen and ink sketches of biblical subjects, of which an example is given above. I can't give it to you. I can't show it to you because all the pictures were blanked out. So I presume in order to republish this book, Scholar Select had to blank out most of the illustrations for copyright reasons. The text out of copyright, presumably, but the image is not. Writers of sacred history, sometimes Ilya said blah, 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 blah. A quaint figure of Noah's Ark drawn on a blank flyleaf of the Book of Ballymote in the 14th century. And as I say, I can't show it to you because it's not here. So that ends that chapter. And the next chapter, which we shall begin next week, we're still under the broad section called Religion, Learning and Art. Well, the next chapter, which is chapter 14, is called Annals, Histories and Genealogies. And we shall have much fun with that. Now, before you all scatter, let's stay for questions and comments. And if anybody wants me to look up anything that we've been talking about tonight, I'm glad to hang around for a few minutes. Thanks for the suggestion. Haha, yes, indeed. Google Hangus, it's about stupid people not knowing what a French man looks like. The French are easy to spot. They're the ones with the caps, aren't they? Yeah, I'm joking. They're easy to hear anyway, you know? Yeah. Which reminds me of a French-themed joke or meme that you see floating around social media from time to time. It's a Facebook or Instagram or one of those LinkedIn or Twitter or Blue Sky, something, of a lady called Gemma. Presumably she's English, maybe not. A lady called Gemma Pell. Gemmapell. And the punchline is, imagine this lady trying to introduce herself in France. Je m'appelle. Can you look up the name McAllister and tell me that's the ancient Irish spelling, please? Oh, certainly don't. I can do that. Brendan Byrne says, great night, Anthony. We Irish get around, and there was no Ryanair. Absolutely true. We sail the world. Thank you also to, who said it? It was Elaine. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Elaine. And of course, we're always glad to have your company, and stay warm over there. And thank you, Kathy May. Oh, last minute bit of Christmas shopping. Mine will definitely be last minute. I said to my wife, what would you like for Christmas, darling? And she said, nothing would make me happier than a diamond necklace. So I got her nothing. Did the penny drop? I'm sure it did. McAllister, there's so many different spellings of McAllister. I can tell you that straight away. And of course, there's a Scottish, I believe, Presbyterian version of McAllister as well. But I am going to look it up for you. I absolutely am. McAllister. MacAllister. But you have a different, you have Mac with a K in it. I'm not sure I've seen that. So the version I'm looking up right now is this one. But let's read it first. Ulster generally, especially Antrim, also Midlands, Mayo, etc. The Irish is MacAllister, Alasdair, which is basically a Gaelicization of Alexander, a very popular first name in Scotland, whence they came as gallows glasses in the 14th and 15th century. So it's not a plantation era name, but the gallows glasses. Now, is there an alternative? I'm going to look it up. Is there an alternative of the gallows glasses? Were those? Do you remember we were doing? We read a couple of chapters of what's that lady's book called? Early Christian Ulster, or the Early Christianity in Ulster. Brilliant book. But we did a couple of episodes about that a while back this year, and she was talking about the gallows glasses, that there were Scottish planters or migrants or people who came and settled here, settlers, before the plantations. There doesn't seem to be. Now, let me just look up the version that you've spelled there, McAllister, with a K. I don't think I'm going to find it. I'll be honest. McAllister. No. Yeah. Early Catholicism in Ulster. Yeah, wasn't that the one? I can't remember the lady's name. But it's a brilliant book. That's the one. There it is. Her name is Marianne Elliott. I knew it was Marianne. I couldn't think of her surname. Marianne Elliott. Yeah, that's the one. The Catholics of Ulster, a History. There you go. The gallows glasses were mercenary fighters for the Irish chieftains, kings, and were here even during the Norman times. There you go. My last name is Lopez. Its origin is from the word lupus, Lupus, as in the wolf, not the disease. Lupus. What does lupus mean, Rossio? Somebody remind me, please. Yeah, maybe I'm getting confused. So we'll wait for the answer. What is the triquetra symbol, Rossio? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that word. See, I'm not a walking encyclopedia. Oh, okay. I see the triquetra. Ooh, where would I start? I don't know. That's one that would require more than a few minutes of looking around. Come back to me on that one. We'll park that one. I'll definitely come back. Yeah, wolf. Several people are saying wolf, which is what I think I said. Lupus, as if in the word wolf. Yeah. Sounds like the Latin for wolf. Yes. Lupus, a Latin name. Not to be confused with lupus, the autoimmune disease. My earliest spelling for my ancestor, 1706, was McAllister, but I'm thinking it was Irish. Yeah, you see, again, this is the real. It's not peculiar. It's for reasons that we've stated earlier in this episode and in other episodes, precisely because a lot of people couldn't read or write. When their names were written down, they were written down by people who were trying to spell what they heard. And so that's, I think, why there are so many variations of spellings of Irish names. That's my own theory about it. I'm sure there are many scholars who have agreed. Franciscan Abbey. In Francis of Assisi's last testament, the question was posed to Pope Gregory IX, obedience to the gospel, the use of money, poverty, housing, in short, to observe or not to observe. The Pope responded with a papal bull that recognizes no druidic validity and testament as it is written, because Francis at the time had no role in the order. The parochial history of Cornwall notes druides or druid. Some derive this word from the Hebrew derusim or drusim, which they translate contemplatores, those who contemplate. Brilliant. St. Hilda, the Synod of Whitby. Was she a nun or an abbess like St. Clare? Franciscan Abbey in St. Francis of Assisi last. Oh, yes. Okay. Clare us is a combination of Clare and Francis, is it? Wow. I also think some of the workers at Ellis Island couldn't spell either. I would imagine that's part of the problem. Anyway, with all of that said, don't forget to get your calendars, because we're coming close to the time, the cutoff time especially for the States and Canada. If you're ordering your calendar, if you order it in the next 24 hours, it'll get to your destination before Christmas. Of course, I know some of you won't be in a rush for it because you don't really need it until the 1st of January. But if you are buying them as Christmas presents, I've just shared the link there where you can order your copies, plural, of the 2025 Mythical Ireland calendar. And don't forget, as always, please do support Mythical Ireland by becoming a patron at the Stone Age level or above. And we'll see you all next week. The winter solstice sunrise at Newgrange is being live streamed again this year on the 21st. And that link will be available coming closer to the time. So those of you who aren't able to travel to Newgrange, who are in Ireland, or those of you who are abroad who are not able to travel to Ireland or can't afford to or whatever, you'll be able to watch the live stream. Hopefully it will not be cloudy and it will be sunny and the sun will shine in and illuminate the place brilliantly. I will be hosting some sort of a solstice themed live stream, but I'm just conscious of the fact that Christmas Eve is Monday, and I don't think that's probably... No, it's not, actually, is it? No, it's not. I'm good. That's all right. Ignore me. It's Christmas Eve. We can do a solstice-themed live stream on the evening of the 23rd. In the meantime, all that remains for me to say is Ichawa Kolosov, Slán go fóil agus tó go bogé. I love you all, and I hope we see you soon.